Welcome to another episode of the CPG Guys podcast. Our co-hosts, Shri Rajagopalan and Peter V.S. Bond, explore how brands and retailers engage with consumers online, in-store, and everywhere in between. And now, here are Shri and Peter. Hey everyone, welcome to the CPG Guys podcast. I'm PVSB, aka the Breakfast Sandwich CPG Guy. My domains of expertise around digital shelf content, retail, customer data insights, CRM, and loyalty. And my co-host, well, he's the serial CPG guy, an expert at branding, direct-to-consumer, unified commerce, retail media, and marketplaces. Please join me in welcoming the man with one name, Shri. Shri, how you doing today?
Doing awesome, Peter. Thank you so much for that wonderful intro, and I look forward to doing these week over week with you. Thank you for this journey together.
Likewise, my friend. Before we get to our guest, I'll remind our audience that all of our content, including our series on profitability, our women's leadership series, and our Q1 founder series, well, you can find that all by just visiting cpgguys.com. And since our podcast is audience-driven in terms of its content, please go to ratethispodcast.com/cpgguys and leave us a review on the Apple platform. We read all of those, and they help direct the content that we're talking about and the people we invite on. So with that, let me get to our guest today. Our guest comes from a primary research role. She began her career at Procter & Gamble before shifting to consulting work. She founded the Interscope, which ultimately was sold to GfK. And 4 years ago, she joined global research leader Ipsos, where she serves as the global president of Shopper and Retail, leading the Path to Purchase focused team, helping brands achieve omni-channel growth through primary research, behavioral analysis, and supporting technology. Boy, we're going to dig into that. That's going to be fun. I've known her for a couple of years and consider her to be tremendously skilled in all things shopper and retail. So please join me in welcoming to the podcast, Alison Chaltas. Alison, how you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, although my mood was kind of ruined by one of the hats. So I'll just wave this in front of the screen.
Ooh, yes. Yes, anything to antagonize the Yankee fan in the room is always good with me. If I can't be a Dodger fan, I would be a Red Sox fan.
I know Peter's love for the Red Sox, so I know exactly what he thinks in his mind when he sees the Red Sox cap. But
I'm a little mad at them from that whole cheating thing. But when it comes to the Yankees,
I got over it, though. It's time to get over it. And the Yankees have cheated enough over the years. So anyway, I want to thank you for having me, and just very much looking forward to this conversation. You asked how I was doing. I'm great. Can't wait for baseball to really happen.
I know.
And I'm half vaccinated as of this week.
Hey!
Very, very, very excited.
Bravo. Hey, before we get to the questions, Alison, can you give us a quick overview of Ipsos? And also, because a lot of people like to multitask while they're listening to this, can you tell people where to find Ipsos on the web?
Yes, easy. Ipsos.com, IPSS. And there's a great site there called under Innovation and Knowledge, or Knowledge and Innovation, which is where all our white papers and our free research reside. So I encourage everyone to go there. So Ipsos, as you mentioned, is a primary research company. We're one of the world's largest, and we're really focused on helping clients understand total understanding of society, markets, and people. And that's very lofty, but we take it very seriously. The human difference, the human understanding is really our point of difference and what makes us stand out in the world. My particular role is about leading worldwide omni-channel solutions. So I feel like I'm in the right place at the right time in terms of all the dynamics that are happening around us. And it's about developing capabilities and new solutions to help better meet clients' business needs.
Brilliant. Thank you for that overview. That's terrific. So I know Shri and I are champing at the bit to get to these questions. So no softballs here. Let's throw one right over the plate, okay? So in this era of big data and AI analytics software with the ability to generate insights from shopping behavior, why, in your estimation, is primary research still a critical component in developing a brand's business strategy?
That we get asked that question all the time, right? Do people matter? Will we still have jobs 5 years from now? Will we be replaced by robots? The answer is no, but we have to think differently. The role of primary research is really around human understanding and really getting to the core of the person, the people decision journey, the human customer experience. The word human is important because we're selling to humans. We need to connect with humans, and data alone won't get us there. In an increasingly data-driven environment, it's so easy to be blindsided by all the numbers. And we're not quite in a world yet where AI is going to do everything for us. Maybe someday, but I'm hoping it's not in my career. But the machine can tell you what happened. The machine can be ultra efficient in projecting different scenarios, but the machine can't tell you why. And the machine can't interpret different options, different senses, and different feelings. So we think the two go hand in hand. Don't believe me, I love AI, and I'm very excited about how we can integrate big data into our primary research. And to me, that's the holy grail, about bringing in these different data streams into the web with the primary research, and then creating the right platforms to have it help predict in the future.
Thank you.
Alison, you said a lot about AI, omnichannel in that first question Peter asked you. How do you actually go about identifying the needs of a brand in this transformative kind of omnichannel space we all touch, that you can actually develop a holistic solution proposal involving all of that you just said, including AI?
So as we think about that, and we think about the transformation, and I'll use kind of the shopping experience, and whether you're shopping for a product or a service, large or small in price point, everything has changed over the last year due to COVID, right? And what we have to do now is take a step back and forget looking at where we were, but look at what has happened over the last year that's going to stay, right? Technology has radically advanced. We're trying to keep up with it. And when we think about things like voice assistants opening the doors, we have to really think broadly about the technology, the needs of the brand, and start again by understanding that customer experience. What is the end state that our customers and our consumers are up against, and how do we help them along that journey? It's about them first, the technology second.
Alison, I'm really intrigued by how Ipsos has adjusted its qualitative insights collection. I think about those beautiful high-tech rooms for focus groups and other things like that. But I want to know how that's kind of changed during the pandemic, and whether you see there have been any pros or cons associated with the necessary change.
Yeah, we are pretty famous for our qual. And, we have a lot of quantitative engines, but the qual is what people tend to remember about us. And yes, COVID halted all of that. And in many parts of the world, it halted quant that's still done face-to-face. However, you'd be surprised how fast we could pivot. Our qualitative teams in the field developed safe qual standards, and there's still a significant amount of work happening today that is face-to-face in a way that is COVID safe. Now, that's not the future, okay? The future, which we were starting to go to anyway, is getting out of in-person and going to different digital and online experiences, or doing the two together. So when we need to deeply connect with shoppers, we have a tremendous toolkit, the one we're on right now, Zoom, right? The simplest thing is to move in-depth interviews and things to a Zoom platform. That's easy. The really powerful ones are new app-based technologies where we can qualitatively follow people, have conversations with people. Think of it as almost like an Instagram for research in the way they're communicating with us. And then we end up with videos. We can give them micro tasks. I mean, there's so much we can do with technology that's amazing. And then the third new thing that's really cool that can be qualitative or quantitative is the world of online communities and creating networks of 100 or 1,000, or I guess we could do 1 million if somebody wanted to do it. People that are online all the time, ready to answer questions from us. And we can just ping them quick questions, and our moderators can guide them. And we can get fast information in a way that replaces those old focus groups that everybody loved to go to. The thing we haven't figured out is how to bring in the pizza and the candy that we all munched along the way.
So let's jump a little bit into the world of consumers, and how their construct is actually created for shopping, etc., and their decision making in particular. Consumer regret, and I'd love to jump into that area. How do you see that as an important construct to help a brand enhance their understanding of decision making and ultimately the downstream consumer behavior?
Yeah, it's part of the role of neuroscience in research, right? And our neuroscience team has done a lot of great work in the space of regret. It's real. I mean, we all might remember the phrase buyer's remorse that used to be part of everything we thought about, and it really is true. And so, for example, when shopping, we might be more afraid of making a bad choice than making no choice. When we talk about regret, it might not be regret from something happened in the past. It might be anticipating regret. Am I spending too much money? Should I really be eating the pasta that's in my pantry from when I started pantry loading for COVID? Or can I go out and buy something new? Like, those are regret-oriented instincts that we need to make sure that our marketing, our products, and everything we communicate helps people get over, right? And leads them to not have that fear. And why is regret a concern? Because being thoughtful about a purchase is a good thing, right? But regret is very counterfactual. It's based on emotion. Every human being feels regret differently. Depends on, what your grandmother told you when you were 5 years old can influence regret. So what we need to do is reflect on what could have happened versus the actual outcome. We have methods to quantify now that are really quite impressive. And there are ways to start to encourage consumers and shoppers to try new things. And when they try new things and they like it, the regret goes away and you're avoiding the whole scenario. So I won't try to play neuroscientist. I love it, but we have professionals for that with real PhDs and things like that. But I can suggest to any listeners that want, we just published a paper, literally it just went up on that website at Ipsos.com. If you go to Ipsos and search making the most of our regrets, there's a great white paper there that I had the honor to be the one who got to provide the commercial perspective in, but I partnered with some great neuroscientists on it.
Let's talk a little bit about beauty buying. There's a lot of big players in this space, and they invest a lot against trying to sell their products. Obviously, this particular market has been dramatically altered by the pandemic. It's going to, from a professional perspective, going to a physical office or traveling to client meetings has been replaced with Zoom. And we don't get to go to all the social events. I mean, Shri and I were very upset we didn't get to go to the Golden Globe Awards this weekend like we always do. But in any event, what does your research tell us about the changing expectations of beauty shoppers, particularly shopping online or even in physical stores?
Oh, well, there's been so much change. And I have to be a little careful because a lot of our research here is proprietary to clients.
Sure.
So I have to speak kind of in generalities, but it's safe to say that fashion and beauty have been turned upside down, right? Yeah. And I know you know this, Peter, but earrings are in, shoes are out. Lipstick is in, but hair color is out, right? Beauty bloggers are in and more influential than ever. Much more influential than those walls that companies spend millions of dollars on in pharmacies and mass merchandisers. Yeah. An in-store trial may be over forever. So the typical ways people drove purchase in beauty don't exist anymore, or people don't like them anymore. So given that, tech has to be the beauty brand's best friend. There's great examples around the world of people using mixed reality platforms, augmented reality, virtual reality. You'll find that more and more. We may even be at the point soon where we'll put on, our VR glasses to figure out which colored lipstick maps our face and won't feel strange about it, right? And it's happening. It's happening in Asia. Every day there's a new technology. We're also using AR and VR to test beauty aisles and to find new ways to help shoppers navigate in a truly virtual environment, which started way before COVID, but really has accelerated, not just because it's safe, but because one of the positive things of this pandemic, and there are many, I won't want it to happen again, but one of the positive things is everybody's embraced technology, and people who were shying away from it are there. So it's an exciting time to be in beauty research, but we really need to start over and think about any insights that are more than a year old aren't good anymore, right? We've got to start fresh and fast.
So from beauty, we're going to go into one of our favorite areas, which is everyday consumption, which is food and beverages.
Sure.
So obviously, prior to the pandemic, there was tons of research in the industry. They've developed over decades on pantry loading, pantry shopping, things of that nature. The pandemic obviously changed at-home consumption, maybe for good, maybe not for good, or some habits will be sticky. Would love to hear your opinion on pre and post-pandemic pantry shopping, loading habits, especially in that space of food and bev.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I'm trying to think back 18 months ago, which is very difficult. And at that time, we were talking about the stock up trip being dead, right? And people were ordering just what they needed, and they were more into fresh products. And there was, the whole mail order food in a box kind of thing was becoming very, very on trend. And then obviously just 1 year ago, we all loaded our pantries so full that maybe there's still stock in there of certain dry goods. So right now we are in a crazy situation. When we take a look at things like sales data, it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. So what we have to do is understand that new path to purchase, right? Is hoarding permanent? Probably not. But will we always keep a good amount of pasta, dried beans, and canned soup in the cabinets from now on? Probably. So this is where fresh, fast insights into the shopper journey are super important. You think about the competition that's come from not just Amazon or Walmart. Where I live in Rhode Island, we can get, food delivered within 2 hours from 10 full grocery carts full of food in 2 hours from many, many retailers now. It's stunning to me. And some of them it doesn't cost a penny except for a tip to the driver. So when you start to think about that shift, it's really important to take a step back. Don't plan to go back to the old normal, right? And think about what's that right mix of encouraging people to have a pantry, but to really go as the complement in the digital world.
So follow on to that, Alison, from your perspective then, how does a manufacturer create a value proposition for food brands during a pandemic and a recession at the same time?
Okay, wow. Like that to me is the $1 million question, right? And thankfully, the pandemic part, we're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. And depending on where you are in the country and the world, that light could be really close or really a couple of years away. So the good news is grocery brands, people are eating at home. And so the competition from restaurants is still, well, first it was none, then it was takeout only, which gets old, right? It's fun to do takeout from your favorite restaurant at the beginning of the pandemic. By the end, you really realize that the experience, the cocktails, the right out of the oven taste, the special of the day are part of what's there. It's not just the eating experience. So as people have gone back home, it's very good for CPG brands, given the name of your podcast here. But there's so much simultaneous change, it's hard to predict which ones are going to be sticky. I know as we long to go back to restaurants, we cook more and our repertoire is further. We also stock up at the club store. That's the scary trip my husband goes to now once a month, double masked. And I mean, we'll tell you, we're cooking around what club stores carry in a way that we've never done before. Right. And which is very strange. And then you counter that with the fresh produce delivery that comes in twice a week. And it's an entirely new way of operating. So as we're tired of cooking and looking for more simple food solutions for the future, I can't predict what's going to happen. And I know that's a cop-out, but it will be easier, simpler, more digital, and when I want it.
Hey, Shri, I can see you're stocking up big time at club stores living on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, aren't you?
I wished. So that said, Alison, let's get into any wisdom you'd like to share with the audience in terms of the latest research, analysis, learnings you've had in the course of the last year that you'd like to put out there that our audience would love to listen from you, especially in areas of leadership and engaging brands in the conversation of this transformation that's taking place in our lovely industry.
Yeah, I mean, there's three that come to mind. And what's interesting, we all talk about the transformation. The areas we're really focused on right now all started well before this pandemic. Well, no, two of them did. The third did not. And what's happened is the pandemic's accelerated them. So it's really important to understand that this was not an on-off switch that happened because of a horrible disease, right? It's an evolution of things that then the pandemic and the lockdown forced us to accelerate whatever tools we had in our toolkit, and technology was the way to do that. So as I think about the top areas to really get smart on, and I think that's what you're asking, right? Is you're trying to think about what to get smart on for your own career and your own businesses and your own brands over the coming year. We're focused on three things. And the first I started with is vaccines. And I know that sounds kind of funny, because, yes, we do a lot of healthcare research, and yes, we do a lot of public affairs research. And those clients care an awful lot about perception of vaccines. But for those of us in CPG, we have to think about how the vaccination curve and the vaccination process will change shopping behavior and consumer brand behaviors and overall usage in the home. Will people automatically start having parties again when everybody's vaccinated? I hope not, because I've learned that as someone who's been vaccinated, you can carry it, but we're going to see some of that, right? Are people going to start going to restaurants again? And therefore, that's a risk to CPG brands and pantry brands. So understanding vaccines, not just factually what's happening, but the consumer emotion and perspective and behavior change coming out of them is mission one right now, if you haven't already started it. And you can take a look at, by the way, that website. There's some good stuff there. The second is an ongoing message, ongoing theme of sustainability. In some ways, this last year has been very good for the environment, fewer emissions, less damage to the ozone layer, et cetera. But in some ways, it's been awful. All the plastic, all the washing, all the chemicals we're using, right? So sustainability is still critical. And when we talk to consumers, they tell us that that's what their biggest concern after the pandemic is, what bad habits are we in that we need to quickly undo? When you think about the fact that here in the US, food waste is a huge deal and a big impact on our environment. And now all of a sudden in the pandemic, we have companies like Misfits delivering leftover food to people's homes at full price. And everybody feels great about it because we're doing the right thing for our earth. So then we come to the one nearest and dearest to my heart, omnichannel. You can call it digitalization. You can call it e-commerce. You can call it omnichannel. Fundamentally, it's the same thing. It's how do we build brand relationships and drive sales through technology in this digital age. And it can be physical and digital, depending on how you want to look at it as a company. It just matters that you look at it. And we get asked all the time, can you do an omnichannel study for us? Can you help us figure this out? As if this is a quick study to understand, something like whether someone likes the Yankees, right? And we know my answer on that, but it's not. It's
Mine too.
It's very complex, and the need to be for omnichannel needs to be more holistic than ever. And what do I mean by that? We need to diagnose how journeys are changing, not just what happened during the pandemic, but what's happening and what's going to happen. Needs, motivations, touch points. This is hard stuff. We need to really look at our whole portfolio. This is not just a digital marketing initiative. This is not a sales initiative for what do you do with Amazon. This is new products, new services, new fulfillment models. Maybe it's how do you balance direct to consumer, traditional e-tail marketplaces, and the brick and mortar combo players that you've always known. And how do we optimize plans for those? And then how do we connect emotionally across these touch points? And this is where I circle back to what you asked about, what's the role of primary research? There is so much digital data, facts, figures available that we almost don't know what to do with it. And we really encourage clients, and I feel very passionately about this if you don't understand, if you can't feel it, that the emotional connection to omnichannel is a really, really huge deal. And then lastly, of course, make sure it's tactical and you can implement it because it's very easy to come up with an omnichannel plan that costs $4 billion. And we all know that in the current recession and given some of the challenges we all face just more broadly, that's not going to happen.
While I'm going to joke in rhetoric here in any analysis, there is the emotional aspect, but it still amazes me how 27 plus championships can stoke emotions in people with a level of hatred that's unbelievable. And we'll move on, Mr. Peter Bond.
Shree.
So they have to do this, and I have to do this. Okay, I have to do this. I know I've never done this on a work call before.
My hat's off to you.
But there first of all, I do need to say more is not better, and money can buy almost everything. There is a heart and soul that's part of that human emotion that is critical, not just to research, but to baseball.
Wow, Shree. Just a 1-2 punch.
Alison started this because more is not better, Alison. Can I therefore assume that more partnerships are not good for Ipsos? Three good ones are the best.
So let's go back to focusing on the first of the three things she talked about, Alison, when I'm happy that you're halfway through the process. as we were sitting on the podcast, I got a message saying that my state of Connecticut, I hit the age group. It's been announced on March 22nd, so I'll be able to join that. Shri, you're a youngster. You got time to go.
I wanted to ask you the importance of emotional responses in consumer behavior when it comes to shopping. The pandemic changed emotional-based behavior and buying.
Yes, there is no doubt, but the emotion is one of almost fight or flight, right? Where I'm afraid to go, right? I shop for my 88-year-old in-laws online. They write it down, they take a picture, they text me the picture of the groceries they need, and all of a sudden I sit in Rhode Island placing their order to be delivered in Connecticut, right? And I'm doing that. My emotion in that process is just to get it done. Right. So I'm not even looking at price. I'm not looking at any sales promotions. I'm not allowed to go off the list because whenever I do, it's not worth the complaint. Right. So I'm just using that as an example. Another example is when you're in a physical store. I've gone very, very little, and I pick and choose when I need to go to a store. And it's almost always huge stores or tiny, tiny stores. Right? Like the local flower shop where I want to give the lady down the street the business. I'll go in and I'll look and there's no one in, and I'll walk in and I'll find a way to spend something that I didn't need to make me happy and to make her happy. But when I go to, if I needed to run into a Target, which I've only done once in the entire pandemic, which is stunning that I've been in one mass merchandiser and 0 department stores in 12 and a half months. And when you think about that, I was actually scared in Targets, and it wasn't crowded, and I got all nervous. And what did I do? I needed some cheap jeans because that's what we wear now, right? And so I went to, and then they don't have dressing rooms. So I'm like literally grabbing 8 kinds of jeans in 2 different sizes each, and some different colors. And then I brought them all home, and I ended up keeping 3 pairs, and I went for 1. And so it's like, it makes you either go faster, go slower, buy more, or go less, depending on who you are.
I wish we had recorded that, and I know we didn't.
Yeah. Allison, I get up tomorrow morning at 5 and I drive an hour down to Westchester County so I can shop at Wegmans because it's big, and at 6 a.m. nobody's there. And that's why I do it.
Yeah. And meanwhile, my dad was in his 80s also and lives alone 20 minutes from me. I could do his grocery shopping for him physically, or I could have it delivered like I do for my in-laws. He doesn't want that. Okay. He said, grocery shopping is the only thing I do that's at all normal. I just go at 6 a.m. And I'm like, if you wear a mask, you wash your hands, you use sanitizer, and you go at 6 a.m. during the old people hour, go. You got to keep your mental health.
That's the reason why in-store shopping will make somewhat of a comeback. Nothing along the lines of what senior leaders want it to be, but it'll make somewhat of a comeback.
I want to remind our audience that all of our content, you can find it. It's all for free. Just go to cpgguys.com, and please don't forget to leave us some feedback by going to ratethispodcast.com/cpgguys. First, Alison, remind our audience where they can go online to find out more about Ipsos.
Ipsos.com, especially the tab that says Innovation and Knowledge, or you can find me on LinkedIn and I'll connect you with the right person.
Alison, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. This was awesome. I really enjoyed it. I learned an enormous amount. I'm pretty sure Shri did too, but thank you.
All right. Take care, and different hats next time.
Thank you.
Shri, what'd you think? This is pretty great. I mean, a lot of nuggets in here. Shri, this has been a great episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Thanks for joining me on this journey as always.
Thank you so much, Peter, as always, for this journey as well. And thank you, Alison, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We look forward to talking to you on the next episode of the CPG Guys. The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPG Guys LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPG Guys LLC.
The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPG Guys LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPG Guys LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.